Why? Because, you know, there's a lot of people out there who will be going through the same sort of process, same sort of questions they may want to ask.
Yes.
And these will come up again and again and again.
Absolutely.
So if we can look at them and then maybe have some answers for future.
Absolutely. I would also suggest that a copy of it should be provided. He then can have a look at himself.
Sure.
And refresh your mind, and also look at the angles possibly which were not considered before. Yeah. But we're just going back to what our brother kindly was saying. You know how it is. As you grow in anything, your questions will become more refined. The questions also will increase. It's just a natural thing. Yes? However, everyone's viewpoint is somewhat different. My viewpoint on this is what started me off on the journey itself. When we have a common understanding of the word religion, that I am from this religion, X is from that religion, Y is from that religion. In our minds, we automatically assume that every religion is alike. Yeah? So why the need for discussion, cross-discussion? You try to bring him to this side, he tries to bring you to that side. Well, if all religion is the same, what's the big deal? Why the big hoo-ha? Yes, why can't we just agree to disagree and live? Yes, the very notion of a democracy is that we rise above all these nationalistic elements, these tribal elements, these religious elements, and strive for one common purpose, which is, I mean, the ideal sounds very good. And in fact, that's what we should do as human beings. Following. My view had always been about Islam. If this is from a creator, because I'm going to start from the yardstick that I cannot see the creator. I am told there is a creator, or I eventually come to the understanding that there is a creator. One perspective is, you have told me and I say yes. Whether it makes, like the brother was pointing out, whether it is making sense to me or not, I do rely on the authority that has provided me the information. Yeah, it's a bit like the brother was just saying, when we go to university, our first year is introduction, you know, the basic principles X, Y, and Z, and then some clever clock comes along and asks a question. A situation arose. The lecturer is saying to the students at Bolton is it a university now, isn't it? It used to be a polytechnic before. At the polytechnic, the lecturer said, energy, yes, can be changed, yes, but it had always been there. Yeah. And one student put his hand up and says, no, you are wrong. Energy once created. The lecturer says, no, it was always there. And so they had a hoo-ha about it. The lecturer had to concede that, look, the understanding is not there as yet to definitively determine whether energy has always been there or whether it is what we call a created entity, however the creation may have been. So for me, when I look at the Quran as an example, the premise I will work on, or I worked on, was not that, okay, even if this does not make sense to me, yes, I will accept, but on the proviso that it doesn't make sense because I don't know everything. Yeah? And there's nothing wrong with that position, because there are many things which we will come across which we may not necessarily understand properly, and we will go to somebody who does understand it better. But the interim period, yeah, from when I read a statement as an example, and I got to a person who was able to tell me what it meant, if that period was, say, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, do I then concede to myself that I accept part of the information that has made sense to me, but I'm not going to accept part of the information until it makes sense to me? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, if as an individual you were to look at the information, the most important thing is to determine whether there is information in this book that supersedes the human understanding at the time that this message is supposed to have been revealed. It's a logical step to take. But if I look at it from the angle of the year 2014, okay, thousands of discoveries have been made in the past few hundred years. Yeah, in the context of geological time, it's really in its infancy in terms of knowledge. Yeah, but the discoveries that have been made, okay, were as a result of thousands and thousands and thousands of brilliant minds, all putting their effort in trying to understand this. Yeah. Now you just think about one aspect. If it took 1,000 scientists a few hundred years, yeah, or even 100 years to develop the idea to the extent that it is today, one has to then wonder, how was it that a fellow who claimed to be a messenger of a creator provides you information at a time about a subject matter at a time when it was logically impossible to do so. Now, one can suggest that, look, you know what you are doing? You are really reading into the text. Yeah? Information which you are privy to today, you know about, you are merely reading into it. True, it can be so. But then if you are going to make that claim, it is for you to be able to disprove the statement. Yes, that's logical. The statement is there. It actually, if you take the whole book as an example, if it is claiming to be from the Creator, it makes a statement and says, you are going to make the discoveries as human beings until it is manifest to you that what you have got is the truth. Now, we can all work on the definition of truth and what it means, okay? But it is telling you, look, whatever discoveries you are going to make, you are going to come across instances where if you make a comparison between what has been said in this, in the Quran as an example, and what you have understood through research or whatever you want to call it, you will see it will agree with what was said all the time ago. Yeah? A simple example I would give is of alcohol. Yeah? We have statements in the Quran that talk about somebody asking about alcohol. So the reply is given that in alcohol there is good and there is bad. But the bad outweighs the good. Current research shows that every so often, alcohol can be of benefit to someone who has got an eye fever or something. Okay? But in all, if you look at it, they will tell you that it has its harmful effects and they seem to supersede or go above the ones that are good. Well, now do we agree that the Quran did say that? Yes, it has. We cannot accuse any person of trying to invent the verse to say what it says here. No. But then it goes further. It talks about people who may have now accepted the truth of Islam, who have acknowledged the Creator and have acknowledged the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to be a prophet of God. They are then told, look, when you are in a state of intoxication, don't come anywhere near prayer. Well, what happens when you are intoxicated? Are you able to logically apply things? No, you are not. Okay? It's a standard there. Yeah? And you are being told that, look, don't approach near prayer. Now, amazingly today, we had an instance a few years ago, by way of anecdotes. A person decided to embrace Islam, but his greatest problem was drink. He loved his tipple, and he just could not let go, no matter how much he tried. Okay? The first Ramadan came for him, and he had to fast. He fasted the first few, and that strength, the need for alcohol overtook him. So he was feeling low about it, yeah. But he decided to take it to a scholar, as the brother pointed out. He took it to a scholar and told him, look, this is what I'm having a problem with. Yeah? So the scholar told him, listen, in normal circumstances, it is a prohibition. Okay? You have an issue here which you need to deal with. Here is what I would suggest to you. Keep trying. Keep following the path. Okay? But if you do end up drinking, don't go near prayer until you are out of that state. So he took the advice and he went on his route. A year after, he came back to the scholar and thanked him and told him, you know what, it has taken me a year and a half, but I have finally overcome this problem that I had. And I am feeling at peace now. So you know what, well, the Quran did mention something, yes. Is it applicable today? Well, it seems to be, yes. But then it also went further and completely, the verse makes it very clear that any form of intoxication is a no-no. It stopped. I'm sure today you realize how many families are breaking up as a result of the demon drink. I mean, we actually call it the demon drink. Why call it the demon drink if it was a positive aspect? Yeah? A lot of people will say, yes, but then if you are a moderate drinker, everything should be fine. True, but what is the definition of a moderate drinker? A few years ago, they talked about a woman in pregnancy should have only so many milliliters, yes? Well, that was actually changed recently because they were told no. In fact, they have been told that cut it out completely.
Yeah.
Now the question arises, when this statement in the Quran talks about the negative effects of intoxication, was it pointing you towards what is true? Logically, yes.
But is that something that's not clearly observable either way with alcohol? Is that not that's something that you can observe anyway? I mean, the thing with the
yes.
with the embryo was quite amazing because that's something you can't really observe without the scientific discoveries that we've got now.
Absolutely.
Whereas with alcohol, all you need to do is kind of go into Bolton Town Centre on a Friday, Saturday night, leave it a few hours, we'll go for a walk down Nelson Square. We could write that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But would you be able to write its negative and positive effects without having tested it?
Well, you could probably go into a club at maybe 10:30 and you could see the positive effects. And then you could go to the club at 1 o'clock and you would see the negative effects. I'm sure.
No, true.
Yeah.
But you see, when we are talking about medicinal purposes, yes, the verse
yeah, of course.
the verse is telling you there's negative, there's good and there's bad. You can only make that determination, even if you say by observation, you would have to be completely removed from the test itself. Because you are undertaking an experiment, as it were. Yeah. Okay? The question is, how would you be able to do that? For us to determine on a scientific basis also whether there is positivity or negativity, you would have to undertake many tests. The question is, did this man undertake those tests? And if not, then one has to try and understand, how did he arrive at such a conclusion? Yeah. And you are right. At that time, in the middle, what we call Saudi Arabia today, it was common to drink. They used to drink like there's no tomorrow. Okay. But the question is, when certain nuanced elements are mentioned, how did we come to that? Okay. Now, for example, the brother mentioned about the embryo, which you are absolutely right. How? How is that possible? It is equally possible to try and understand if a statement says that, we turned to the heavens when it was smoky. Yeah? What does that mean exactly? Yeah? If the statement is talking about, as the brother mentioned, the potential expansion of what we call the universe today, yes? We know that in terms of experimentation, in terms of observation, yes, we know a partial definitive answer was provided to us in circa 1929 by Edwin Hubble. Okay? And this was after the telescopes zoomed and he looked at particular locations and found that something was happening. Because when the measurements were being made, things were moving away from each other. Okay? Now, obviously, when you raise one question, you have another 100 that are just waiting to be asked. And through a process of observation, through a process of thinking, through going, whether it was from A to B to C to D, they came to the conclusion that something's happening. Yes, they called it, in technical terms, the Doppler shift about blue and red on the spectrum. Okay, so it's going this way and that way. But then they thought, no, if there was something like this, then you will have some form of background radiation. Okay, so they are looking for it. And as is customary in many great discoveries, it is discovered by accident. Yes, we have those two telephone engineers. Yeah, they, in 1964, they are those who are looking at something else and they find something else. Yeah, and they found that cosmic background radiation, which sort of cemented the idea that the universe is expanding. Well, the question is, if it required observation, it required the invention of telescopes, it required so many great minds to arrive at this, the question therefore has to be asked again. Once you have definitively understood the import of the verse, if it is claiming that an expansion was taking place, how did he come to know about it?
What is the verse? What does the verse say?
The verse actually says, the word that is used is dukhan. Yeah, it's in Surah 11 verse 41, the chapter. Okay, it actually says, verily we are expanding it, the universe. Yeah, the question is, if the word the word dukhan is smoke, yeah, the element just prior, okay, if that is what is happening, the question you have to ask yourself is, how did they come to it? Yeah, how? Now you must understand, we are not only talking about the expansion of the universe. When it refers to that smoky element, okay, that is just prior to what we would call the sudden explosion. I use the word in inverted commas because we know that it isn't technically an explosion, yeah? But how? How did one come to understand that? It's a question. And like you said, find out, well, is it possible that this verse may have other meanings? Yes. Because if you go back a few hundred years, when the Quran was being interpreted and translated, whoever interpreted or translated it could only do it according to their understanding. Now what happens is that if I were to take a translation or interpretation of, let's say, 100 odd years ago, and one of today, in these 100 years, we have found out a lot, okay? And we find that the verse actually still fits what we are saying, yeah? So the question is how? Now, these are elements which we are talking about that are not related to the human being and the interaction of human beings with other human beings. Now you will find that collectively in Islam, it gives you guidance on aspects which, you know, today, if you were to turn to a psychologist and ask, if you were to turn to a psychiatrist, in fact, all what the brother referred to sciences, yeah? My view of the subject is that the word science is, it is derived from the word scientia, just meaning knowledge, okay? And to me, anything that consists of knowledge has to be considered a form of science, yes? I mean, in fact, in the scientific community, they have distinguished between what they call hard sciences and soft sciences, yeah? That distinction is only there to suggest that, look, when it comes to physics, chemistry, biology, certain tests will be undertaken. Yeah, that's the difference. But in context, it is all about knowledge.
Can I